My brother Jack had always been interested in yoga. He thought it would be a good idea to make small YouTube videos and post them on YouTube and Instagram to share his knowledge with others who might be interested in yoga. So he started making videos with two of his classmates, Emma and Sarah. They used their phones and microphones to record in parks and other soothing places. One day, a new classmate, Lisa, joined their class. She quickly became friends with Jack and the group, which now consisted of 5 people. Lisa seemed to be very enthusiastic about yoga and offered to help with the videos. She even brought a new microphone and a tripod, which were quite expensive. Jack and his friends thought it was a bit strange that she was so generous, but she was very friendly and harmonious, so they accepted her help. One night around 11 p.m., Lisa called Jack. She said her mother was going somewhere and she was feeling scared alone at home. She asked Jack to come over. Her house was about 30 to 35 kilometers away from where Jack and his friends lived. It wasn't safe to travel that far at night, especially in winter, so Jack refused. Lisa insisted, and then her mother picked up the phone, requesting Jack to come over, saying they never left their daughter alone. Jack still refused because of the distance and the unsafe area, but this incident left him feeling strange. Lisa's behavior was becoming more and more unusual. She would often bring food and drinks for everyone, and she was particularly attentive to Jack. She would often touch his hair, commenting on how it was turning white and how he was doing yoga despite it. One day, Lisa suggested finding a new location to shoot their videos because there were too many disturbances outside. She offered her house as a shooting location, saying her mother had agreed to let them use the empty second floor. Jack and his friends agreed, thinking it was a good idea to have an indoor location. When they arrived at Lisa's house, they found it very old and run down. The house was not painted, and the walls were in bad condition. The main gate was covered with a black cloth, and there were no windows, making the house look even more ominous. As they entered, they felt a strange sense of negativity and sadness. Lisa guided them inside, asking Jack to put his left foot inside the house first, which he found strange. The house was dark and filled with a bad smell. They had to use flashlights to see anything. Lisa took Jack's brother Adam and their friends upstairs while Jack stayed on the first floor. Jack felt uneasy standing there alone in the dark. Eventually, Lisa's mother came down and greeted Jack warmly, hugging him tightly. She led him into a room where the atmosphere felt even more oppressive. The room had a large statue covered in some kind of wet substance, possibly oil. The statue's eyes seemed to be staring directly at Jack, making him feel extremely uncomfortable. Soon, Lisa came down with Adam and introduced him to her mother. Lisa's mother was very happy to see Adam and started a small ritual. She asked Jack and Adam to stay and participate, but Jack refused. He felt an overwhelming sense of danger and negativity. He insisted on leaving, grabbing Adam and rushing out of the house. As they fled, they noticed a broken coconut and scattered rice at the gate, which added to the eerie atmosphere. They rode their bikes as fast as they could, stopping only when they were far enough from the house. Jack immediately called their mother via video call, feeling shaken and scared. During the call, their mother suddenly seemed to be possessed by a family deity, shouting warnings and scolding them for going to that house. After the call, Jack and Adam went to a nearby Hanuman temple and spoke to the priest. The priest listened to their story and performed a ritual to cleanse them of any negative energy. He advised them to leave the area and be cautious in the future. Back at home, Jack and Adam couldn't sleep at night. They were haunted by nightmares of being trapped in that house, unable to escape. They felt a constant sense of dread and negativity. Jack was so scared that he would sit with a blanket, feeling the need to search for something in his closet, as if compelled by some unseen force. One night, Jack found a gift box that Lisa had given him. She had told him to open it only when she asked. He took the box to the temple and showed it to the priest, who told him to burn it immediately. They did as the priest instructed, and gradually the negative effects started to fade. Jack and Adam moved to a new place and tried to forget the whole incident. However, the trauma lingered, and Jack couldn't sleep without the lights on for a long time. He turned towards spirituality for healing, finding solace in worship and meditation. He shared his story to warn others about the dangers of trusting too quickly and the importance of being cautious with new acquaintances. My name is John, and I have a story to tell you that still sends shivers down my spine. It's a tale of terror that happened many years ago in a small forgotten village in England. The place I'm talking about is known as Court Manor, a grand but decrepit old house with a chilling past. The manor was once the courthouse of a powerful and ruthless landlord named Lord Gregory. He was feared and loathed by the villagers for his cruelty and arrogance. Court Manor wasn't just a place where justice was supposedly served. It was also the site of unspeakable horrors. Lord Gregory had a twisted hobby. He would force young women to dance for his amusement and then imprison them in the manor's dark, damp cells. Many of these women were never seen again, and whispers of their suffering became the stuff of local legend. As the years passed, the power and influence of Lord Gregory's family dwindled, and the manor fell into disrepair. The villagers avoided it, believing it to be cursed by the spirits of those who had died there unjustly. Stories of ghostly apparitions and strange noises spread, adding to the manor's sinister reputation. One day, a group of laborers and a contractor were hired to demolish the crumbling manor. As they worked, they made a gruesome discovery: human bones buried beneath the floorboards. The villagers believed these remains belonged to the women who had been tortured and killed by Lord Gregory. Among them was the spirit of a young woman named Emily, a dancer who had been one of his victims. It was said that her spirit still roamed the halls of Court Manor, seeking vengeance for the wrongs done to her. Now, let me tell you about my own encounter with the supernatural. My name is Peter, and I lived in the village near Court Manor. Like many others, I had heard the stories, but I never really believed them. Ghosts and spirits were just tales to scare children, or so I thought. That all changed one night. It was a chilly autumn evening, and I decided to take a shortcut through the old garden near Court Manor to get home. The garden was overgrown with wild grass and weeds, and it had an eerie silence about it. As I walked, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me. The moon cast long shadows, and the only sound was the distant chirping of crickets. As I neared the manor, I heard the faint tinkling of a bell, like the sound of an anklet. My heart skipped a beat. I told myself it was just my imagination, but deep down I felt a growing sense of dread. The manor loomed ahead, dark and foreboding, like a sinister sentinel guarding its secrets. Suddenly I saw a flicker of movement out of the corner of my eye. I turned and saw a shadow moving along the wall of the manor. My pulse quickened, and I felt a chill run down my spine. As I watched, the shadow took shape, and I realized it was a woman. She was dressed in old-fashioned clothes, and her eyes were deep and haunting. She seemed to glide rather than walk, and there was something both beautiful and terrifying about her. I was rooted to the spot, unable to move. The woman's gaze locked onto mine, and she smiled. It was a smile that sent waves of fear through me, as if she could see into my very soul. Then, as suddenly as she had appeared, she vanished. I knew I had to get away from there, but my legs felt like lead. I forced myself to turn and run. As I fled, I heard the sound of footsteps behind me. I glanced back and saw a man, his face twisted in rage. He was dressed in old clothes, and I recognized him from the stories. It was Lord Gregory. He was chasing me, and I knew if he caught me, I would be his next victim. I ran faster, my breath coming in ragged gasps, until I finally burst out of the garden and into the safety of the village. When I reached home, I was shaking uncontrollably. My wife, Sarah, tried to calm me down, but I could barely speak. I told her what had happened, and she looked at me with a mixture of fear and disbelief. Over the next few days, the story spread through the village, and everyone was talking about the haunted manor. The encounter had left me deeply shaken, and I couldn't get the image of that woman's face out of my mind. I started to have nightmares, reliving the terror of that night over and over again. I would wake up drenched in sweat, hearing the tinkling of the anklet and the sound of footsteps echoing in my ears. Days turned into weeks, and my condition worsened. I became a shadow of my former self, avoiding the garden and the manor at all costs. The villagers noticed the change in me, and some began to believe that the spirits of Court Manor had marked me. I couldn't sleep, and when I did, the nightmares were relentless. I felt as if Emily's spirit was trying to tell me something, but I couldn't understand what. One day, Sarah decided that enough was enough. She insisted we go back to the manor together to confront whatever was haunting me. I was terrified, but I knew she was right. We had to face it, or it would destroy me. We made our way to Court Manor, armed with nothing but a lantern and our resolve. The air was thick with tension, and every creak and rustle made my heart race. As we approached the manor, I felt a familiar chill run down my spine. We entered the garden, and the sense of being watched returned, stronger than ever. We walked slowly towards the manor, the light from the lantern casting eerie shadows on the ground. Suddenly, we heard the tinkling sound of the anklet again. I froze, but Sarah squeezed my hand, urging me to continue. We reached the front of the manor, and there she was, the woman with the deep, haunting eyes. This time, I didn't run. I stood my ground, holding Sarah's hand tightly. The woman looked at us, and then her gaze shifted to something behind us. We turned and saw the figure of Lord Gregory, his face contorted with anger. But this time, there was something different. The woman stepped forward and placed herself between us and Lord Gregory. She looked at him with a look of pure defiance. Lord Gregory's figure seemed to waver and then disappear into the darkness. The woman turned back to us, and her expression softened. She gave us a small, sad smile before fading away. I felt a sense of peace wash over me, as if a great weight had been lifted from my shoulders. We left Court Manor that night, feeling a strange mixture of relief and sadness. The haunting had ended, but the memories would stay with me forever. I realized that Emily's spirit had finally found justice, and she could rest in peace. From that day on, the village began to recover. The manor still stood, a silent reminder of its dark past, but the fear that had gripped us for so long was gone. People started to speak of the manor in hushed tones, acknowledging the suffering that had occurred there, but also recognizing the bravery of those who had faced its ghosts. As for me, I gradually returned to my normal life. The nightmares ceased, and I found solace in knowing that the spirits of Court Manor were at peace. The experience changed me, making me more aware of the unseen forces that sometimes linger in our world. It taught me the importance of facing our fears, no matter how terrifying they may be. Even now, years later, I sometimes walk by the old garden and look at the manor. The once grand house stands as a testament to the horrors that unfolded within its walls, but also to the strength and resilience of the human spirit.